So, I didn't want to be making another video like this so soon, but the R34 has broken down once again. Not even a week since I had the problems with the gearbox. It happened last night in the rain. I believe the internals of my diff have just been turned to nothing by the sounds of it, by the feel of it. So I had to get a tow truck from Varsity, which is south side of the Gold Coast, back up to the workshop, which was about 35 minutes away. So it was $150 to get the car towed up that way. And as I've mentioned in my Instagram stories, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet on YouTube, but I am in the process of buying a new project car, so this couldn't have really come at a worse time. From what I know, from what other people I've spoken to have told me, it sounds like a diff. The problem is going to be finding another diff. So finding an R34 turbo diff is really hard. There's not a lot of people selling them, they're usually quite expensive. So I don't know what I'm going to do. At the moment it looks like I'm going to be buying an S15 diff, which really isn't preferable. They have a 3.6 ratio, at least the one I'm looking at does, and they use 3x2 shafts. The guy that I've been talking to, he has one up in Brisbane for the diff, and he has the 2 shafts that go along with it as well, so that should all bolt up. It's a drama that I don't want to really have to worry about, because the turbo has a 4.11 ratio diff going down to a 3.6. There's going to be all types of inconsistencies and things I really don't want to have to worry about. But if I can't find a diff, that's going to be what I have to do. I've looked Gumtree, Facebook, eBay. There's nothing local, and preferably I want to have it as soon as possible because I have a new gearbox on the way. I don't want to be putting in this brand new gearbox and then not being able to drive the car and have who knows how long downtime. So already had to put up with that with our problem last week. I had a week without a car. It may happen again, and it's from today. It's actually the 20th of June where I'll be picking up the project car. So 2 weeks away I need to pick that up. I've got to pay for my gearbox, I've got rego to pay for in my 34. So everything's kind of happened at once, and then I have now had to pay for tow trucks and other fees. Well, not fees, but other parts for my own car. So yeah, pretty hectic kind of time, but working through it, and I'll be keeping you guys updated along the way. I'm just on my way to the workshop now, going to get the car up on the hoist and assess the damage, see what we're actually looking at, pull the diff apart. If it is actually the diff, I'm going to start by pulling the tail shaft out and then turning the wheels. Currently the wheels are really hard to turn up in the air, which is either something in the gearbox or something in the diff. Pull the tail shaft out, and then if I spin the wheels and it's all good, then it's a gearbox problem. If it's still bad, then it's a diff problem. So that's basically what I'll be doing, and then from there trying to find some parts. So I'll be taking you guys with me, and I'll see you at the workshop when we start pulling it out. We are back about 4 days later from when you last heard from me, and we've got the skyline off there behind me. It's been a rough few days. Everything's kind of been going wrong that can possibly go wrong. I pulled apart the diff on, when was it? I think it was the day that I recorded that first video. So I pulled the diff apart. Well, I didn't actually pull it apart. All I did was pull the drain bung off, and some massive chunks of diff came out. I'll just put a photo of those up on the screen now. So like you can see there, 3 massive chunks of diff. Doesn't look too good. Diff's definitely damaged. I had to order another diff from South Australia, out of all places. So that's going to be here, I think Monday next week, which would be the 22nd. So it kind of has put everything kind of out of whack because I'm waiting on a gearbox at the same time. I'm trying to sell my current gearbox. It's all kind of been happening. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to be pulling the diff out completely and the gearbox out of that car. You've seen the gearbox been pulled out 1,000 times, so you're not going to see that whole process, but I'll do a bit of a rundown on pulling the diff out. And then hopefully the new one will be here the start of next week, and same with the gearbox. So hopefully I can chuck it all back in and have everything out. So I'll have the exhaust out, tail shaft will be out, and then I can just chuck our new gearbox straight back in after doing the conversion, and we should be all good to go from there. So I will see you guys in the workshop. Before we head inside, I should probably explain as well why the diff actually broke in the first place. It's probably an important thing. So when I built this car, I took the subframes out of a GTV model 34, which is an NA car that has turbo brakes and supposedly diff and shafts. And recently I found out that the shafts are definitely turbo, brakes and everything is definitely turbo, but the diff itself uses a turbo housing but actually uses the NA, I guess, inner gears. So 400 horsepower going through those NA gears has lasted a lot longer than expected, so that's the reason it broke. I've ordered a proper turbo manual diff for the 34s, so I'll whack all that back in and then we should be good for a while. Hopefully 400 horsepower won't be enough to blow apart a turbo diff. I'll be going from 4.3 in the NA to a 4.1, so I'll lose a bit of acceleration but get a bit more top end, which should be good for an RB because that's where they like to live anyway. So hopefully it'll work out. I think it's going to be a much nicer car to drive, especially for roll racing, which is what I mostly use it for at the moment. So yeah, definitely keen to see how it comes apart, or how it goes back together and how it drives. It's going to be definitely sluggish off the line. It's never been fast off the line at all. It really struggles in first gear going off from the lights. So roll racing, hopefully it will be good. And yeah, now we can put it up on the hoist and start ripping it apart. So as I said before, you've seen me pull this apart many times. So I'm just going to crack on and get the gearbox out, and you guys will see me once that's on the ground, and then we will pop our broken diff out and then see how bad the damage actually is. I'm going to pull that back hat off and then we can see how much metal's actually in there. Gearbox is out again for the 20,000th time, which is good because now I'm getting quick at pulling it out. Exhaust, tail shaft, blah blah blah. Pulled the whole system off this time because obviously I need to be able to pull my diff out. Nice pretty clutch up there. So the guy who is buying this gearbox is on his way. He will be taking that away, and now I'm pretty much all ready to be able to put in the new, well, at least the new gearbox for now. I'm just going to crack on and pull out that diff. Again, won't be showing the whole process just because it's hard to do when I'm the only person here. 2 bolts on that, or 2 nuts on that stud, 1 nut on that stud, 2 bolts at the back, 5 bolts on each shaft, and then that should just drop straight down and out of the way, and then I'll be able to pull the outer housing off, outer casing, whatever you want to call it, and then can have a look at how bad the damage is inside. The shafts on both sides have been undone, and we've got the diff sitting on the jack, so I'm going to undo these 2 bolts, undo the nuts on the studs, slide the diff back, drop it out, and then can pop off that cover and see how bad the damage is. That does not sound good. So our diff is sitting up there, casing over there, and here is all of the stuff we will need to pick up the new project car. That's what we're getting. Another Skyline. Because why not? So I got my tools, front and rear knuckles, shell isn't rolling, so got all those bits. You can kind of see, bind's up there. It's not pretty.